That's what matters much more than the flowers that will wilt in just a few days. But someone may say that I'm speaking probably because I didn't get flowers. We'll see about that. My name is Olive Monica Najama, and I'm joined by the Fantastic Three. And I'll start with the gentleman in the middle. Good morning, Jerome Paul.
Well, good morning to you, and good morning to you, our dear viewer who's watching us this fruitful Thursday. A cold one, I should say, but well, we are here to make sure that we light it up for you and make it a little bit warmer as well, as you're catching us up every single morning, but also looking at the fact that there's lots of information and news that you definitely have to follow up with. And well, as the lovers were actually celebrating their day, you get to also realize that the government also was able to inform the public that mass renewal of the national IDs will now kick-start off, but at a fee of 50,000 Ugandan shillings. Many are not happy with that because of the fact that they are going to renew their own national IDs that they didn't pay for. But at the start of the enrollment, or when the government was actually giving out these national IDs, there was no fee attached to it. But as of now, when it comes to the renewal of 50,000 Ugandan shillings for a person to pay, that is not something that many Ugandans are happy about. But well, this is a move by the government to ensure accountability amongst each, and also to create room for identification of every citizen. But besides that, many thanks for joining us on Good Morning Uganda today.
Well, thank you so much, Jerome Paul, and I'm hoping that the chilly morning has not really encumbered your movement to this place at Nile Avenue, where we are broadcasting to you live. Now, checking on the lady at the extreme left. Good morning, Chantal.
Good morning, Olive. How are you feeling today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very well, and I've just come to notice that we are in the 7th week of the year, and well, a lot has happened between then. I mean, summits and all these activities that have been concluded, and I'm also hopeful for more activities that are going to be coming. But most importantly, how far have you gone in reminding yourself of the goals that you have set to be able to achieve this year? If you couldn't achieve some last year, hopefully you carried some into this year and you're able to. You've started. The point is start. Welcome to the show. My name is Chantal.
Now, speaking about lovers, yesterday the Uganda Registration Services Bureau also held its first ever marriage conference. And in this, they aimed to educate Ugandans about, first of all, the 5 forms of marriages that we have in Uganda. And among these, we have the traditional marriage, which is potentially polygamous. We have the church marriage. We have the Mohammedan marriage, or what you'll call the Muslim marriage. We have Hindu, and we have civil marriage. But it's important to note that one of the key factors that was raised is that Ugandans do not register their marriages. And because of this, in most cases, when let's say a marriage is coming to an end and people need to file for divorce, now there are encumbrances that they are going to meet because their marriages are not recognized by the government. So it was advised, people were advised, Ugandans, lovers, couples were advised to register their marriages so that they avert such problems going forward. And of course, I am talking about the marriage bit because I also want to involve a married man here on the show, and that is Mr. Chirabo. Good morning, sir.
A lovely morning to you. You don't look to have had bruises or tears yesterday over Valentine. I don't know with the lady at the extreme left. I'm still analyzing the situation and the mood here.
As you can see, I'm very okay.
Don't be defensive, but at least I can proudly say that yesterday was a lovely day. I was seeing some people on social media. There's some clip at Cafe Java's. I was like, oh Lord, help this lady go through this very well. But
I for the life of me, don't understand why the gentleman did what he did. But then some people are saying ladies have been doing this to men who propose to them in public all the time. So probably it was time to pay back.
There was some miscommunication in the middle there, I can assure you. Because, and miscommunication may not be verbal. It could have been body language. It could have been signals that the lady did not see. And understand your person before you show up in public with all these things. So miscommunication really led to something like that.
Well, I thought about that and I'm like, she'll overcome it, you know. One of our colleagues just said, just make money, move on. Now, talking about marriage, one important thing for people to note is that when you're conducting any form of those marriages, make sure it is registered in the law books of Uganda or the body that regulates marriage. For example, many people go for traditional marriage. When I talk of traditional marriage, I mean the kuhingira,
Kwanjula.
I mean the kwanjula.
Yes.
But after presenting maybe a certificate from Uganda, that is not legally regarded. You have to go up, you're given 6 months to register your marriage. Introduction, kuhinjira, is a form of marriage. Even if you stop there, it is registered as a form of marriage if you follow the law and the right. And it's very simple and very easy, not even expensive at all. But people end there and they're very complacent. Then others make a mistake. They think everyone inclined or titled pastor, sheikh, has the right to carry out a marriage. Men have gone to churches. I've seen some holding marriages on the shores of Lake Victoria, some on boats, yachts, and all that. At the end of the day, that is a marriage that is known between you and people who are around, but you don't have a legal backing of that. So you must be serious. Where do you conduct your marriage? Do they have even a license or a right, you know, to wed couples? Or is it just that Robert Chirabo pastor began a church and now he's climbed and saying, I'm going to wed people, and you're celebrating? So also you must be very clear. But for me, the story that stood out yesterday was this issue of exorbitant fees being discussed on the floor of Parliament. And I was very disappointed, I must say, very disappointed, when the Honorable Minister for Primary Education presented a report, and their members of Parliament rejected, saying, this is the same thing you've brought here. Even the Deputy Speaker is like, no, okay, your presence here, what have we benefited? You know, you've come with no solution. You've come to present something, and there is no leeway. Now at that level, it brought me to think twice. How are we going to bridge the gap between the have and have-nots
And the have-nots,
in
yes.
terms of education? Because it seems it's going to widen.
Well, that's really sad. And to add to what Robert shared about marriages and where they are held, there is something they call gazetting the places where you're getting married. Now, some places like churches, like mosques already, and registrar's offices already have the license and the right to wed people. Now, if you must have your wedding at the shores of Lake Victoria, like Chirabo said, or on a yacht, then you need to seek that permission from the Register of Marriages before you can continue. Otherwise, if the place is not gazetted, your marriage may unfortunately be null and void. And if you're married traditionally, it is still a marriage. I don't know, some people actually just say, we just introduced. No, you didn't just introduce. You got married because that marriage is recognized by the government of Uganda, but you need to register it. Also, the government was advised to start to expedite the amendment of the Marriage Act, because the one we have is really old. It was enacted in 1904 and we are in 2024. Imagine how many years are those? So we need to have it amended. And that being said, Robert Chirabo now takes us through our first local news story.
Well, we want to begin with a religious bit of it, where yesterday was Ash Wednesday, and thousands of Christians thronged places of worship to begin the season of 40 days of fasting. As always, the tendency among many, UBC cameras moved to see how believers were prepared. They commenced their journey at Christ the King Catholic Church, a few meters from our operating offices, and there by 7 o'clock yesterday morning, believers had already reached the place to begin the Lent season. In the course of the Holy Mass of late, the main celebrant, Monsignor Gerard Kalumba, reminded Christians about the essency of fasting period for Christians. Kalumba also clarified on the significance of Ash Wednesday. Our next destination was at Lubaga Catholic Church, where school-going children had a special day's prayer session organized for them at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they attended in big numbers. During Mass, presided over by Reverend Father Anthony Musala, he urged believers to renew their faith and reflect during this fasting period and be of clear mind and cleanse themselves of sin so that they are fit in the image of Jesus Christ as Savior.
In more news, Uganda Road Court before Magistrate Nancha Jatiko has heard the case of inciting violence against retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besigye and Samuel Lubega Mukaku. Prosecution alleges that the duo committed the alleged offense on 14th June 2022 at Mini Price in Kampala. The two who appeared in court, prosecution presented its second witness, Detective Sergeant Agaba Godwin, who told court that in June 2022, while attached to CPS Kampala as a Division Region CID boss, they arrested the accused from downtown and brought them to Central Police Station. Agaba told court that he searched Besigye's car and recovered a megaphone and placards with wordings aimed at inciting violence. The said megaphone and placards have been tendered to court as prosecution exhibits. The third witness, Sergeant Benjamin Oluka, attached to Central Police Station, told court that he also witnessed the arrest of Dr. Kiza Besigye and Samuel Lubega Mukaku. The witnesses were cross-examined by the accused's lawyer, Elias Lukwago. However, it was hard for them to tell court how the megaphone and the placards incited violence by two accused persons. Court resumes on the 15th of March, 2024.
And moving on, Parliament expressed dissatisfaction over government's response to the action of some schools charging exorbitant fees. The Minister of State for Education, for Primary Education, Dr. Joyce Kaduchu, presented the measures taken by government to address the vice, but the MPs found no reason from the statement. Minister Kaduchu then asked for time to revise her response after further consultations from respective authority. A section of schools have made it a habit to make parents dig deeper from their pockets to pay for school fees. Minister of State for Primary Education, Joyce Moruka Kaduchu, told Parliament that the measures that government has taken to address the cries of parents who are facing the wrath of schools. Government, according to Minister Kaduchu, is aware of the illegal actions of the schools charging prohibited fees and has embarked on plans to introduce universal education for all, but the MPs did not welcome the intervention as addressed by Minister Kaduchu, claiming that the presentation is a recap of the previous submission. The MPs showed mixed reactions to the current competency-based curriculum, questioning its fate as pioneer quote students are yet to join the advanced level of education.
Away from that, over 10 women have expressed interest in replacing late Cecilia Barbara Ogwal, who died last month. Different political parties have started preparing their strategies to reclaim the seat, while Forum for Democratic Change Party has resolved that the daughter to the late takes over her mother's leadership mantle. The position for Dokolo District Woman Member of Parliament was declared vacant following the demise of Cecilia Ogwal. On Monday, Electoral Commission issued a roadmap setting 21st March as the date to fill the vacant position. Political parties have started strategizing carefully to reclaim the seat formerly occupied by FDC since 2006, when Dokolo was carved from Lira. From two people, FDC has now resolved that Cecilia Ogwal's daughter holds the FDC flag in the by-election. Dr. Rosemary Alwok, who holds a paper in law and a doctorate in economics from UK, wants to carry on with her mother's legacy. Alwok says she has been speaking and fighting injustices while in the United Kingdom. NUP is also interested in the seat. Harriet Ageno is holding the flag. UPC and NRM already have candidates who held their flags in 2021, and going by their party's constitution, they will retain their flags. But National Resistance Movement already has more aspirants planning to run independently. They claim the flag bearer already lost her chance to Forum for Democratic Change Party. In the last general election, Cecilia Ogwal ran under FDC ticket and garnered 32,000 votes. She was trailed by NRM's candidate Janet Rose Adongo Elau with 16,000 votes and UPC's Anna Aguti Nyankori with 10,000 votes. Well, may the best woman win in the Dokolo Woman Member of Parliament race. Now we focus our attention to international news with Chantal Olive.
Well, crossing over internationally, we start with the U.S. One person has died and 21 people were wounded in a shooting in Missouri at the end of the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl victory parade. Officials said they treated 8 victims who were in immediately life-threatening condition, as well as 7 others who had suffered injuries that could prove life-threatening. An area hospital confirmed that 9 children were among the wounded. Police said they have arrested 3 suspects in connection to the shooting. The shots were fired west of Union Station, the train station in downtown Kansas City, which was close to thousands of fans who had gathered for the victory parade on Wednesday. The parade ended outside Union Station around 14 hours local time, and local reports said Kansas City Chiefs players were still on a stage when shots were first fired. The gunfire caused the watching crowd, including the city's mayor and his family members, to run for cover. More than 800 police officers were already on the scene to monitor the parade, officials said, including on top of the buildings to ensure the safety of those who had gathered to watch. The city's fire department was also present to provide medical attention if needed. Moving on, Elon Musk's X, formerly Twitter, granted subscription packs to designated terrorist groups and others barred from operating in the U.S., according to campaigners. The Tech Transparency Project found X had granted blue check marks to accounts tied to Hezbollah members, among others. For $8 a month, a tick allows longer posts and better promotion. X removed some ticks after the report saying its security was robust. Mr. Musk's decision to charge for checkmarks was one of the most controversial changes he made after he bought Twitter in 2022, with critics saying the move would make issues of disinformation worse, opening the platform to impersonators. The badge was previously free, meant to indicate that social media platform had verified the identity behind the account. Many of the recipients were journalists as well as world leaders and celebrities. In some cases, those included people facing sanctions in the U.S., which opened the company to criticism that it was giving a platform to the wrong people and accusations that it was breaking U.S. sanctions law. Now coming back to Africa, as people around the world marked Valentine's Day with flowers and chocolate, Kenyan women are mourning. Hundreds of them donned black outfits and held lit candles and red roses at a vigil in honor of more than 30 women who have been murdered in the city in 2024. Wednesday's vigil in Nairobi, which featured impassioned calls to action and musical performances, was organized by the End Femicide Kenya movement, a collective of more than 1,000 organizations and individuals. Dark Valentine vigils were also held in 6 other cities amidst rising cases of femicide which have captured national attention. Flowers are not beautiful on a casket, says a message in Swahili on a shirt worn by many of the mourners in Nairobi. The vigils aim to pressure the government to address the demands of the movement, which include declaring femicide and violence against women as a national emergency and establishing a commission to eliminate both. And lastly, speaking matters climate, nearly 15% of Americans don't believe climate change is real. A new study out of the University of Michigan reveals, shedding light on the highly polarized attitude towards global warming. Additionally, denialism is highest in the central and southern U.S., with Republican voters found less likely to believe in climate science. Using artificial intelligence, researchers analyzed over 7.4 million tweets posted by roughly 1.3 million people on the social media platform X between 2017 and 2019. The social media posts were geocoded and classified as for or against climate change using a large language model, a type of artificial intelligence developed by OpenAI. Over half of the tweets we looked at simply denied that climate change was real, that it was a hoax, said Joshua Newell, co-author of the study and professor of environment and sustainability at the University of Michigan. It wasn't surprising, but it was disappointing. I would hope that more and more Americans would believe in climate change and the importance of addressing it. That does it for climate news and what is happening across different parts of the world.
Well, speaking of different parts of the world, we also have newspapers with top stories, that is from Uganda and also Kenya and Tanzania. And Jerome Paul will take us through those.
Well, kicking it off with the New Vision this morning, the New Vision is highlighting, did Otafire pay for Njeru farmland? As the land sales agreement reveals shocking details. More of that is in the New Vision today. Now, furthermore, Israel-Hamas war rekindles memories of Entebbe raid. Read about that in the New Vision. Now, elsewhere in the Harvest Money Expo 2024, Koreans to train 4,000 youth. Read about that specific report. Then the Lent season starts, a pictorial of the Vice President during the prayers for the Lent season. Then Ginger family disowns in-laws. This is Ginger family disowns in-law. Read about why they did so in the New Vision. Now, women exit. Government seeks new partner. As Magara Mada, COP recounts ordeal. That is what the New Vision is highlighting this Thursday. Now, we look at the Daily Monitor, still with our press review. 85 trillion shillings locked up in commercial court. That is what the Daily Monitor is highlighting. Also, in regards to that, the court audit cases involving corporate disputes have tied up more than 44 trillion shillings, while those involving banking have locked up 10.5 trillion shillings, among others. Now, besides that, Ash Wednesday, Christians asked to take care of the needy in Lent. Still, the front page is showing the Vice President. Now, DM today, Onapitos celebrate 20 years of bliss. Then, in the other news, it's illegal for serving soldiers to participate in politics. Court rules. Interesting report. Then government adds stadium to Janani Luwumu pilgrimage site. Read about that. Then Minister Louds monitor for graft fight. That is within the Daily Monitor. Crossing the borders to Kenya. Secrets of Raila's African Union job bid. Take two, a pictorial of Raila Odinga at the front page of the Daily Nation. Now, 4 quizzed after the death of star athlete. Read about that in the Daily Nation. As in the anniversary, no arrests yet, a year after sniper killed woman. Then read about an interesting report on the two sides of Valentine's. Then public service exposed, state farms run by officials with bogus papers. The Daily Nation is highlighting. Then economy, shilling bounces back in dramatic surge against the dollar. And then the property perspective, transform every room in your house into an intimate space. That is the Daily Nation. Lastly, the Citizen newspaper from Tanzania, central bank on the spot for dollar exchange rate mix-up, is what the headline is here, as the parliament is pointing a finger at the Bank of Tanzania for issuing official exchange rates that are unrealistic and do not reflect market demands, hence contributing to the rise in US dollar black markets. Then, what Lowassa will be most remembered for? The Citizen is highlighting. Now, in the Rising Woman, Dr. Victoria encourages women to rise above the odds. as Samia lures Norwegian investors. Tanzania mulls at adopting digital sound broadcasting. Then lastly, government told to reassess its investment approach. That is what the press review is highlighting this morning.
Thank you, Jerome Paul. Now, the year was 2008, and the song was Live Your Life by T.I. and Rihanna. Today is Thursday, so we throw back and we'll leave you with that jam to inspire you this Thursday morning.
Live.
Will wilt in just a few days. But someone may say that I'm speaking proudly because I didn't get flowers. We'll see about that. My name is Olive Monica Najama, and I'm joined by the Fantastic Three. And I'll start with the gentleman in the middle. Good morning, Jerome Paul.
Well, good morning to you, and good morning to you, our dear viewer who's watching us this fruitful Thursday. A cold one, I should say. But well, we are here to make sure that we light it up for you and make it a little bit warmer as well, as you're catching us up every single morning. But also looking at the fact that there's lots of information and news that you definitely have to follow up with. And well, as the lovers were actually celebrating their day, you get to also realize that the government also was able to inform the public that mass renewal of the national IDs will now kick-start off, but at a fee of 50,000 Ugandan shillings. Many are not happy with that because of the fact that they are going to renew their own national IDs that they didn't pay for. Remember, at the start of the enrollment, or when the government was actually giving out these national IDs, there was no fee attached to it. But as of now, when it comes to the renewal of 50,000 Ugandan shillings for a person to pay, that is not something that many Ugandans are happy about. But well, this is a move by the government to ensure accountability amongst each, and also to create room for identification of every citizen. But besides that, many thanks for joining us on Good Morning Uganda today.
Well, thank you so much, Jerome Paul, and I'm hoping that the chilly morning has not really encumbered your movement to this place at Nile Avenue, where we are broadcasting to you live. Now, checking on the lady at the extreme left. Good morning, Chantal.
Good morning, Olive. How are you feeling today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very well, and I've just come to notice that we are in the 7th week of the year, and well, a lot has happened between then. I mean, summits and all these activities that have been concluded, and I'm also hopeful for more activities that are going to be coming. But most importantly, how far have you gone in reminding yourself of the goals that you have set to be able to achieve this year? If you couldn't achieve some last year, hopefully you carried some into this year and you're able to. You've started. The point is start. Welcome to the show. My name is Chantal.
Now, speaking about lovers, yesterday the Uganda Registration Services Bureau also held its first ever marriage conference. And in this, they aimed to educate Ugandans about, first of all, the 5 forms of marriages that we have in Uganda. And among these, we have the traditional marriage, which is potentially polygamous. We have the church marriage. We have the Mohammedan marriage, or what you'll call the Muslim marriage. We have Hindu, and we have civil marriage. But it's important to note that one of the key factors that was raised is that Ugandans do not register their marriages. And because of this, in most cases, when let's say a marriage is coming to an end and people need to file for divorce, now there are encumbrances that they are going to meet because their marriages are not recognized by the government. So it was advised, people were advised, Ugandans, lovers, couples were advised to register their marriages so that they avert such problems going forward. And of course, I am talking about the marriage bit because I also want to involve a married man.
Pick of the day on UBC. was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial star 165 star 3 hash or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Thursday morning, thank you for being with us. It is the 15th of February 2024, just a day after Catholics started the Lent period that is going to last 40 days. So these are 40 days of prayer and fasting and getting closer to God for Christians, for the Christian fraternity. And this will end in March on 28th when we'll have Good Friday and then Easter celebrations and call it a day. So the big question is, have you prepared yourself? Are you ready for the new season of prayer and fasting and drawing near to God? I'm asking because this is what the rationale of Lent is all about, not just Wednesday and Friday when you do not eat meat. And of course, for some people, why don't they eat meat? According to the Catholic Church, meat is considered as feasting. So when you're feasting, you are not really, communing with God, because right now you're supposed to be praying, fasting, and repenting of your sins. That's why we have Lent. But our focus this morning is not on Lent. Our focus this morning is on the rising cases of defilement in Uganda. And it saddens that some of these cases are committed by family members, where fathers are defiling their daughters, or guardians are defiling children that are in their care. We've seen cases where babies are being defiled or molested by their fathers or guardians, and also underage girls. A case in point is a 14-year-old that was defiled by her father in Jinja City. And of course, this case comes to the fore because police has now apprehended a 20-year-old receptionist over what? Yes, he allowed or looked on as this gentleman, the father, booked into this lodge twice with his daughter and did nothing about it. Now, according to the law, minors are not allowed into lodges, especially with, basically they're not allowed to be in lodges, except if they're there for accommodation purposes. Maybe it's the entire family, the mother is there and they're seeking accommodation, maybe they have traveled. But if anyone, an adult, you see a grown man walking in with an underage girl into the lodge, then you should call the police, because probably a crime is going to be committed, and this crime in point here is defilement. So this is where our focus is this morning. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, and I'm joined by Chirabo Robert Nyonyintono and Chantal Olive Akandinda to digest and see why we have these issues and these cases arising even more and more, and what best can we do to avert them, but also what does the law say about defilement. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning to you.
So when you see these cases, of course, as a guardian and as a parent, I believe they leave a bad taste in your mouth. And we see the cases continuing, okay, despite us having laws, despite us having people incarcerated because of the same, they keep rising. Now, when we had the COVID-19 lockdown, I remember that cases of defilement even went higher. We were recording like 20,000 underage girls being pregnant in a district, not just in the country, in a district. So, and because of this, when the lockdowns were lifted and schools reopened, many girls were not able to go back to school because now they were mothers. For a few schools, the girls were allowed to go back. But you know how this changes a girl's life. But let's go back to the beginning. What are some of the key contributing factors to the rising cases of defilement in the country?
Well, first, let's understand when we talk about defilement, what are we referring to? Because there's also rape.
Yes.
Now, these are all sexual crimes. But defilement is when, according to our laws in Uganda, when you have sexual intercourse with a girl below the age of 18. Now, whether she's given to you by her parents, whether she has consented and come to your house or a lodge, as long as she's below 18 years, we believe that at that time she has no proper judgment, neither is the body fit for sexual intercourse. However, we have what is also termed under the law as aggravated defilement. Now, this is when you have sexual intercourse with a girl below the age of 14. And that, the punishment, according to our books, is death. Now, according to Uganda, the method we use so far is only one, death by hanging. So if you're convicted of having sex or sexual intercourse with a girl below the age of 14, Karaba. If it is below the age of 18, it is life imprisonment. Now, you asked, why do we see these things happen? One, much as we are a country that have a very strong law, there are challenges in terms of the extent of evidence required. For one to be convicted of defilement. Remember, our laws are very clear. One is presumed innocent until proven guilty by a competent court.
Yes.
Now, the fact that Chantal, below 18 years, I have sexual intercourse with her, does not mean I'm going to face the wrath of the law, because it has to be proven. And the ingredients necessary to prove beyond reasonable doubt, because you find that when the punishment is so hard, therefore you need maximum, unquestionable, undoubted evidence to convict someone. Because you're convicting someone of death. Therefore, the laws must be very clear that beyond reasonable doubt,
you committed the crime.
You committed the crime. Now, that is a challenge. Because what you need, Ugandans don't have enough knowledge about it.
Yes.
A mother will bathe her daughter very well, you know, then first keep quiet, consult people after a week gun report. You know, all the evidence has been destroyed, tampered with. So you don't have right evidence to do that. We had a story in our newsreel, not in our news, where Elias Lukwago asked that the megaphones and placards show evidence how they were used to incite violence. But under normal circumstances, anyone would say, but for real, you know what happened? But court wants that evidence beyond reasonable doubt.
Beyond reasonable
Now,
doubt.
telling this person, bring the dresses, you know, bring the clothes that have that fluid, then take the girl to have a police form felt, a police surgeon, you know, sometimes in some areas there isn't even a police surgeon nearby. And it's not any doctor. Because still, people may dupe for other benefits. A police surgeon certified.
Please note that some of the perpetrators are actually in some of those bodies. We have reports that some of the members, like the police themselves, have been reported in such cases. So
yeah, there are different cases of police officers actually sometimes defiling or even raping.
Yes.
Yes. And now, it is very hectic for a mother, let's say, a poor mother, to go to walk down the stairs of justice when defilement has been conducted. But also, too, you must also accept that you may find that 80%, according to the police crime report of the previous year, that 80% of the children that are defiled, the people that defile them, either are known to them or our relatives.
Yes.
Now, when that happens, if your brother, God forbid, defiled your daughter, how open would you be about it? You know, you brought in your brother, you're married, he defiles your daughter. One, it is a shame to the entire family because of Africa, the way we are.
So is this where the cultural aspect comes in?
So, to a certain extent, so you conceal. It is an abomination.
Like in this case, the victim was a daughter. So
You know,
her
a
father,
biological daughter.
a biological daughter. So her father was defiling her. So when this happens, is this when, because of culture, because of people standing in society, when such crimes are kept from the focal eye of the
Yes,
law?
because no one, the entire family will be seen as a cursed family. The girl, the victim herself, even when she grows up, because of her little understanding, person will feel comfortable to attack and say,
That's why your father raped you or defiled you.
are you going to marry that girl?
Was
Is
defiled
that
by the father. So the stigma
What
in
are you
society.
bringing into our family? They have a curse. They have something.
So basically, someone is defiled or raped, but then the stigma is upon them or even the mother to keep
Yes.
this secret.
Keep it
Because
a
now you're
secret.
an abomination.
You're an abomination.
Apparently, yes.
But also, finally on this, you find that also on the other element of culture.
Yes.
What sometimes the law, you have already said that what is legally right may be, what is morally right may be legally wrong. Now, you're talking of 18. Some cultures, a girl of 18 years, what is she still doing at home?
Actually, for some cultures, the minute a girl gets her first period, then
She's
she's
ready for
ripe
marriage.
for marriage. It doesn't matter if she's 10 or 12.
It doesn't matter.
But then we have the age of consent.
Yes, but you see, for the cultural setting, some faith. Please don't attack me. You know, in Uganda, when you're talking about issues of faith and culture, they are very soft.
There is a thin line.
Yeah, there's a thin line. But the fact is, we have faith that still marry off, and for them it's okay. You bring a holy book and read it to you, that once the Lord has blessed and shown no signs of maturity for this woman, this girl is ripe for marriage. In our faith, it is okay. So culture, faith, coupled, and also the other issue where we still see this is poverty. Poverty. That people, you know, precedents are set. If a person, justice is becoming very expensive in our country. I don't know if people will agree with me. We must face the fact. Judiciary, I saw them open a new year, a new lawyer, talk good things, but justice is very expensive. That many of these perpetuators know that it is easy to walk away.
Especially if they have money.
If they have money, because you're going to travel to court today, travel to court tomorrow, then what happens? Even others are told, when will that case be resolved? Rather discuss with the suspect
And finish it out of court.
and finish it out of court. Bring a cow, bring a goat, bring some money, let him commit himself to doing this and settle it out. So those are some of the outstanding causes of why we are seeing defilement on an increase.
There have been allegations where even local local chairpersons have also been involved in the process of defilement. Now, they didn't defile the children, but they aided and abetted. Someone is reported to having defiled a child, and then the LC chairperson convinces the parents to take the money and kill
And
the
finish
case.
the- yes.
Exactly. And because of this, now we have many children that are now victims of defilement. In 2022, a total of 8,960 cases of defilement were reported, and 1,623 cases of rape were reported to police, compared to 10,653 cases of defilement and 1,486 cases of rape reported in 2021, giving a 15.9% decrease in defilement and 9.2% decrease in rape cases registered in the country. Now, yes, there was a decrease, but the numbers are still high.
Even briefly,
if you're still talking
on
about
that, I love
8,000.
statistics so much. If you went further and looked at how many cases were reported to police, how many made it to court, statistics, I'll be giving how many made it to court.
Yes.
Then, how many convictions were secured? You're going to find out that not even 10% of the cases that were taken to court, convictions were secured, and people are now serving sentences. You find that, yes, police, many cases are reported to police, not moving away from the fact that a lot is not reported, but many are reported to police. Now, how many move from police to court? You find that about 50% don't move from police to court. Then from police to court, to secure, which is the most important bit of it, to secure convictions and at least hold the suspects, now the criminals, you find that not even 15% of these cases secure victory in courts.
Now, speaking of statistics and the cases that have not been reported, but also the allegations that parents sometimes prefer to take the money, and sometimes the girls are even sent into marriage. Like a man defiles your 14-year-old daughter, you ask him for dowry, because now the dowry is going to come in terms of, in form of maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 cows.
Well, I'll ask him who's going to marry my daughter now that you've defiled her.
Exactly. So now we now have another case of child marriage on our hands in addition to the defilement. So coming to you, Chantal, what do you think should be the role of parents and also the community in averting the cases of defilement?
And it's on that very point that I would like to say these are the biggest contributors to this problem. Not because they do it, but because we are hiding it. The more we hide it, the more we leave room for it to grow. For example, if your daughter is raped, God forbid, and you are hiding it from your family, maybe they were raped by the cousin or the uncle, and you're hiding it from the family, you are the first person who is aiding it. Now, I need you to weigh your options. What is worse? Aiding this, because if it has happened before, it's going to happen again. Maybe not to your child, but to a neighbor's child. Yeah? So why not report these cases, and then after reporting the cases, have these individuals apprehended? That is one. Two, why not have, it could be support groups, or it could be a mindset change for these people? Because at the end of the day, if after this girl has reported her case, that she was raped by the uncle, by the dad, after that, what society does matters. And when you look at some of the effects of defilement and rape, you realize that, one, there's going to be low self-esteem. This child isn't going to fit in the society, in the community, even in the school, because they'll be pointing fingers. Oh, she's the one who was raped by the dad. Oh, defiled by the uncle. Oh my God, she must even have been dressed poorly. You get it? Now, they start flipping it and putting it on this child because of maybe the way she was dressed, maybe the way she was being playful with this person. This is usually people who rape or defile these girls are people that these girls trust. So, if I'm looking at my uncle and I don't think he should be doing something like that, the moment it's done, there is breach of trust. So when it goes back down to me, I have issues to deal with internally because my trust has been broken. I am traumatized. Yeah? So in the society, if there is no one who is going to help me navigate that kind of trauma, that means I am going to sit back and keep it to myself. That means I'm not reporting the person who has done it to me, and that means they're going to do it to someone else, or even keep doing it to me if I've not reported. So as communities, let's help these victims that are that are reporting these cases. Let's not stigmatize them. Let's give them all the support and help they need. Then, when someone is reported, Now this goes to bodies that are responsible. Let's not slacken. Let's not give them grace. How do you get, I was looking at a report of, I think it was a teacher that was caught red-handed defiling a 6-year-old. Now, how do you leave this person to walk scot-free? How? So that means we need to even go back and strengthen our law on some of these things and make sure that when someone is caught, they pay for what they have done. Now, I'm not someone who is, I'm not God, that I'm going to say I'm extending grace. But if you're doing something like that, you're as well capable of killing this child. Because 6 years, how? 3 months, how?
Actually, in Bukedea, a 28-year-old man was apprehended for defiling a 3-year-old child.
There was even reports of 3 months. 1 to 3 months. I don't know what you're looking for, but I believe you can. I believe you have the ability to convince someone old enough to do anything you want to do. But if someone is capable of defiling, taking advantage of this vulnerable child or manipulating them into something like that, this person is capable of killing them. So that means these people need to be apprehended. We shouldn't slacken on this. So as communities, let's support these kids when they report. And also, of course, the boys also get raped just because, and defiled, actually, they get defiled just because the reports don't usually come out so much. So when, and for the boys, it's even worse. How does a boy come out and say, I'm 14 years old, but I was defiled? How? You get it. This auntie of mine or this housemaid
molested.
Actually, we are speaking about defilement in places of residence, at home, by guardians, by parents, or by neighbors, or people that are known to the children. But there is another aspect of defilement that is happening. Last year, a headmaster was apprehended for defiling 7 pupils. 7 pupils. Yes. Now, when I send my children to school, I know that they're safe in the hands of their teachers and in the hands of the headmaster. So we have reached a point where now our children are not safe at home and they're not safe at school. What would compel a grown man, a headmaster, to, one, molest a pupil, and 2, why are they still walking scot-free? Because the last I checked, this case is not even in court yet.
Well, first and foremost, we must understand that when these crimes occur, most of the times, these people, by law, they are mandated to go for a mental test and ascertain were they in their proper mental state by time of committing this offense. Why? Because when you steal my car, you're not subjected to a mental test. When you break into my house, you're not subjected to a mental test, because it is a crime that we assume that nobody in their proper mental state can do that. No wonder if someone is convicted, the law is clear, under 14, it is elimination, because you're not worthy of being in society.
Well, there is, just to cut you short, but the reason as to why these people are taken for a mental check is because they're trying to check if they have pedophilia. Yeah? Now, I also think it's an excuse that can be used, but when you try to find out, according to studies, people that are child sex offenders have there is a correlation when it comes to having various neurological abnormalities and psychological pathologies. That is why they are subjected to mental health checks, because it's abnormal.
So now that's when I come to the next point of contention, or not contention per se, but the next question: should we have a registry for sex offenders, for pedophiles, so that it is on the record that this person wants to stand for member of parliament, but he is a pedophile? I mean, it is being done in countries like the United States. They have registered sex offenders, so that it is known. When you come into the new community, you go to the LC to introduce yourself, and when they check the system, this is when we need checks and balances, and where we need record keeping. They can know that yes, so and so stays in this neighborhood, but is a registered child offender, sexual offender. Do you think that could work?
At no time would I want to so much cherish evils.
It's not cherishing, but it is knowing who my neighbor is.
No, I don't think we need to go to that level.
No,
Why?
we have- we have
Look
to-
at, we have
because-
over 8,000, look at it this way. We have over 8,000 cases of defilement. We have all these girls that got pregnant during the lockdown because of defilement. Would you still comfortably say that we don't need to know these people by their names and their
Because
images?
when we look at our cases, I spent so much time covering crime and all that. And one of the things I discovered that a number of these defilers, some are under the influence of drugs, others under the influence of alcohol, then others, it is because they know that not much breakthrough should be done. I think for me, my approach would not be having these registers, but letting our law bite. You see, why defilement cases are increasing, or why we see these cases of defilement, is because 90%, I was reading some article by Honorable Mary Carol Okrut, I think by then she was Minister for Gender. She said, she gave evidence that 90% of these people go scot-free.
Why?
Now, because the law,
Because our legal system,
our
that
legal
part is
system
weak.
is weak and it can be manipulated. Now, let me tell you, brothers and sisters watching us, wherever people know that they can commit an offense and move away with it, you don't have precedents. Let me give you an example. In Uganda, even if you came across a pistol dropped there, the first thing would be to call police.
Yes.
Because, you know, once you're found in possession of a firearm, you know, even if you just walk up by your gate and you find bullets, 3 or 4,
Yes.
you tell your children, don't touch, you know, I may not even come to work.
In 2021, more than 30 people were arrested for being found with
Yes.
4 bullets.
So I may not even come to work. I'll call my boss and say, I've found these bullets. I can't touch them. I want police to come and remove them. Do you know why?
So if we
Because
have
our
something
government
like
set
that,
a precedent
okay,
that a gun in Uganda is an evil. You can have an entire barracks made empty to look for a missing gun, a missing weapon. So, if we can extend, because our government came from the background knowing that 27 guns could change a government. So they know that when you make a mess here,
so what you're saying is that we need to adopt the
to
same
prioritize,
the same attitude.
Yes, because defilement has far-fetching impacts. A girl who was defiled, even dating her may be a problem, or even getting married.
Exactly, those
You
are some
know,
of the effects.
And some of them develop, some of them even murder men. They have hatred towards
Yeah,
men.
you
At the end of the day, we look at the victim who has turned a criminal, but you forget the criminal who
That
turned
made
victim.
the victim a victim.
So, we've not prioritized the justice law and order sector
Trevor,
recently.
when you mention prioritizing, and as we close, when you mention prioritizing, we just had over 12 men that had been convicted of defilement pardoned. What does that look? What kind of light does that cast on this whole fight and against defilement, and also prioritizing defilement, fighting against defilement?
Well, there is a contradiction between the law and morals. You know, there is a contradiction between the law and morals. And that is where most of the times in these challenges, that legally someone has the right to pardon. The law is clear. It doesn't mention which type of offense. Any offense. Now, that is what the law says. Morally, it may not look good. So the law took precedent over morals, and there was no wrong in that.
So Chantal, your parting shots as...
My parting shot would be, Trevor mentioned something at the beginning, and he said, one of the reasons as to why these cases go unpunished is because there is apparently no evidence. So let police and whichever body is responsible inform Ugandans on how best to handle the situation. When your daughter is raped, don't shower them, report to police.
Don't wash the
first.
underwear.
Don't do anything. First report, get everything checked, then have this child washed and taken care of. Also, please support the victims of these cases. Both boys and girls are equally vulnerable to defilement and rape. So support them and do not stigmatize them. Those are the very first ways we can make sure that we cut down, because I mean, between 2020 and 2021, a difference of 12, a reduction to 12% is not anywhere close to what we need.
And also briefly, briefly.
Now, Chirabo,
just a minute, please, please, I
time
kindly
is
request.
against us. We must run, because the UG Tourism Express is coming up next. But Innocent from Chira says, people that commit these crimes need to be educated about the effects onto the victims. And he also says that this is as a result of poverty, where girls are defiled because they're trying to get as simple things like sanitary towels from their abusers. We can't go much further. Good morning, Uganda. Tourism Express comes up next. My name is Olive.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
The cardinal role of a government is maintaining law and order, safeguarding citizens' rights and providing essential public goods and services. Throughout its tenure, the government has consistently upheld these principles. This foundation creates an environment conducive to delivering crucial social services to citizens through diverse approaches such as taxation, strategic budgeting, and effective policy implementation. A transformative education system, advancing healthcare provisions, enhancing social welfare, and propelling infrastructure growth, all of which continue to evolve daily to cater to the population's expectations. Supported by a meticulously organized network of ministries, government remains committed to serving its citizens. Coming soon on your public broadcaster, The Front Bench, your interface with the government every Monday at 8:30 p.m. with Joram Paul Sonko, only on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Junko.
Yo.
Wachiko. Check the shopping man. What's your secret?
Uganda wange. Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sewatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Junko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
It's actually nice to know that you can feed the giraffes here at work. Getting so close to them, feeding them. Actually, they're very gentle animals. Giraffes are one of the most amazing animals that I love. Meeting, feeding. Maybe because we are totally opposite, because when you see my height, I'm definitely very short compared to giraffes. Now look at this young giraffe. It is very tall. She's very tall, actually. I think I'm just not even halfway. But giraffe, however much they are totally the opposite of mine. And this is the GM Tourism Express at UBC. Thank you so much for keeping around, sticking around.
My name is Aine Magara, and I am a zookeeper at the Uganda Wildlife Conservation Education Center. Today we're going to talk about the giraffes. The tallest land animals that can go up to 13 feet. That's quite tall. So they are also what we call the biggest ruminants on land. Ruminants are animals that chew the cud or regurgitate. So giraffes happen to be the biggest of all the living ruminants. And here at the zoo we have 3 giraffes. The one that was behind me, we call him Diamond, and he's the one who is sponsored by Diamond Trust Bank. And he's not even 2 years. He was born in June of 2022. That's when Diamond was born. But also further behind there is Seguia, who is the dad, and North. So those are the 3 giraffes that we have. Very gentle animals. Giraffes are predominantly browsers, or they feed on tree leaves. However, they are known also to feed on grass. They can bend and feed on grass. They can feed on shrubs, depending on the availability of food. So here at the zoo, our giraffes mainly feed on browse, different species of browse, like the one we are feeding is called Cariandra. So they at least have 4 hips, 4 very big hips of browse, which we raise because these are tall animals and they feed from on tall plants. So we have pulleys, we raise their browse up. We feed in the morning, we also feed them in the evening. But also we have what we call supplements, so like dessert. From bananas to eggplants to cabbage to bitter berries to most of the vegetables. So those are some of the supplements. But also we also give them what we call the horse pellets. But also we give them the mineral broth so that they can get some of those micronutrients they cannot get in the browse. Yeah.
So how long have these giraffes been here?
As I said, Diamond is the youngest, and he was born here. He's captive born. North came in 2015 from the northern bank of Murchison Falls. Seguia, who is named after our former executive director, Dr. Andrew Seguia, was also from Murchison, and he came in 2009.
Why do they take long to breed?
One, they have a very, very long gestation period. The second longest gestation period is of a giraffe of 18 months.
What is the first one?
The elephant, which goes up to 22 months. Yeah, followed by a giraffe. So you have to wait for 18 months to see a very young calf of a giraffe. Sometimes it is hard to tell, but when you are observing these animals on a daily, their teeth are very tiny. They're actually very hidden. But towards those 4 or 5 stages, close to giving birth, the teeth are out, the vulva enlarges in preparation, but also the body score is good. They grow much bigger. They're looking very good. You can clearly tell that probably this animal is pregnant.
And then is there some special attention that you are giving you, like maybe medication, just like humans, you get antenatal?
No. These guys they usually have natural birth, but in case we monitor them during especially that critical time, so that in case it needs assistance, our vets can be on standby and they assist in giving birth. But most of the giraffes that have given birth, they give birth on their own. Maybe the major thing we can do is increasing their diet, for example, supplements, such that you can have milk for the young ones. In terms of weight, height, 4 feet, and probably around 40-50 kilos. Yes. And in the next 30 minutes to 1 hour, they can run after they have been produced.
Oh my God.
Yes. So it is an adaptation to run away from the predators in the wild. So this is our over here.
Everything. That was it from Awake. There are so many different species that you can actually enjoy sighting here at Owake. But behind the scenes specifically takes you to about 5 or 4 wildlife species here. So that is the giraffes, the rhinos, lions, the shorebill, and and the chimpanzees. So, but besides the behind the scenes experience, there is a lot, actually a lot that you can spot here at Owake. You can see, if you're a reptile lover, the different snake species here. You can spot the elephants, zebras, a lot that you can actually spot at Owake. So if you're a wildlife lover, but you also need that bit of leisure, please find time and explore the beautiful Owake that we have. It is an accessory that is so popular, like I said, not just in Uganda, but Africa-wide. Numbers of tourists come in the country just to visit Owake. And then there is you, a Ugandan who has been in the country for more than 20 years, and you've not even thought about visiting this place. Please find time and explore Uganda and see the beautiful nature that God placed in our country. Thank you so much for keeping around. I am Irene Alena Misango, Uganda Uncovered. Stay tuned in. We shall take you around Uganda at the comfort of your desk or your phone or your TV, wherever you're watching us from. Thank you.
Well, and welcome on board to the GMU Good Morning Uganda Business Express, rather business updates. I almost called it Business Express, but nonetheless, I'm here to make sure that I give you more details. Before I went on air, the conversations were relating to Valentine's Day. And of course, there was a video trending on social media in regards to a gentleman who walked away past a gift and all that. And my first report this morning is rotating around the Valentine's Day business, because according to the traders in downtown Kampala, the turn-up this time round was not as high as it was the previous year. Well, there was a lot of speculations in regards to how those in the bouquet business will make a lot of money, those who deal in the bouquet business in Kampala, or those who sell specific gifts for the Valentine's Day. And well, many were actually saying the number of lovers in Kampala is lower than the number of the business people in the capital. And surprisingly, according to the turn-up as well, this was vivid. When you go, when you look at downtown Kampala, many of the business dealers in the capital were saying that they did not receive a high turn-up of the business or a high turn-up of clients simply because of the economic times as much. And of course, when you look at someone who overstocked, it became very difficult for them to sell off you know, all of their merchandise in such a time or in such a period. But also, besides that, you get to realize that some of the other dealers were actually calling upon Ugandans, especially those in the agricultural sector, to also deal or to also engage in growing of flowers, because most of the flowers that are on the market or that are being sold on such a time are imported from Kenya. So in order to try and curb the issue to do with the high pricing and also make sure that next year the business will be favorable for all of those involved, it would be better if at all the flowers are mainly or are majorly bought within the country. Well, the turn-up to many was still low. However, there are also those who made some good money, especially those in the delivery business who are not necessarily into you know, bouquet business, but are actually selling, let's say, phones, car bonds. Many did, of course, strategize themselves better in order to earn from the Valentine's Day. Now we are past that. For those who are still nursing you know, wounds of failing to get what they expected to get, we wish you all the best through your traumatic experiences, and so that you can heal past that. And then for those who are surprised by their loved ones, we also stand with you and are happy that you are happy as well. But besides that, more to do with our business updates this morning. We move on to the next report. And our next report is looking at the border industry in the country. Because what is coming in from here is that in downtown Kampala yesterday, the border riders caused chaos over disputes with fellow riders who claim to be their leaders, alleging that they lack necessary requirements to operate. Now, this led to police intervention, resulting in several detentions of the many who are involved in these particular disruptions in the capital. Now, Patrick Onyango, who is the deputy police spokesperson, stated that those detained will face charges including simple robbery and assault. There has been chaos in downtown sparked by the border riders for a couple of times in regards to their leadership, and this is not new. If you're to look back at the time when the border industry has always been receiving various guidelines from the Office of the President and also from the Kampala City Council Authority in regards to what guidelines they're supposed to follow, and also the regulations that they should not break in order to have a smooth run of business in Kampala. However, the issue to do with leadership in the capital is something very critical, whereby most of the border riders claim that some of the leaders are not part of the border industry and they are rather political, which does ruin the business of the borders in the country. Now, when you look at the situation here, the case prompted police intervention to restore calm and resulted in several arrests. And Patrick Onyango, the police spokesperson, did emphasize the need for mutual understanding between the two parties, those that claim to be the leaders as well as the border riders themselves. Now, also, besides that, he did confirm the arrest and detention of some border riders, citing the reasons for their detention. And this also follows Kampala City Council authorities call for the streamlining process of the border industry. Remember, last year, still through the issue to do with streamlining the border industry activities in Kampala, included ensuring that the border riders had reflector jackets, and these reflector jackets were supposed to be different for each stage within the capital in order to track down who is not supposed to be working within Kampala. However, since then, if you're to fast forward it to 2024, you do realize that not so many of them are having helmets and reflector jackets. This also affects the industry and also further affects the issue to do with the leadership of the borders. Well, now away from that, we now talk matters financial technology and the Bank of Uganda, where the Uganda Communications Commission and the Central Bank are hosting a two-day high-level stakeholders engagement with the private sector players in Chigo to discuss emerging issues affecting digital financial services in Uganda. Now, the Bank of Uganda asserts that the digital financial services and mobile money in particular have helped spur financial inclusion to 78%, registering over 28 million mobile money accounts in the country. The government also recognizes that the current tax regime in the financial technologies in the country, or the fintechs, is discouraging innovation, thereby befitting some of the objectives of the same at the start of pushing for the financial technologies in Uganda. And amongst the other issues at hand in relation to the financial technologies also includes matters to do with fraud, or what you could call cyber crime. One of the issues to which the Uganda Communications Commission and the Bank of Uganda are working hand in hand with the police as well, with various directorates, especially that of the investigation department, investigation directorate, in order to ensure that such cases of cyber crime are put to an end in the country, and further streamlining the usage of financial technologies in the country, and also pushing for innovations through the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, pushing for the innovations such as new apps to safeguard those who are doing business online, and also to push for e-commerce in the country. And well, now lastly, from our business update this morning, we have our focus onto the Uganda Wildlife Authority. We talk matters tourism. as the Uganda Wildlife Authority has denied allegations of blocking the Auditor General from accessing the chimpanzee and gorilla booking data during the audit process. Why is this so? Bashir Hangi, the Manager Communications and Public Relations of the Uganda Wildlife Authority, did reveal to Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC, in an exclusive interview that the allegations are not true, adding that the Uganda Wildlife Authority has instead been more transparent than what is being reported across different media platforms. Now, besides that, on Tuesday, the Parliamentary Committee and Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises, or COSASE, further ordered for a forensic audit into the 500 million Ugandan shillings gorilla permit scandal that rocked the Uganda Wildlife Authority last year. Now also, this is after the Auditor General report revealed to the members of Parliament that the Uganda Wildlife Authority further denied him access of the chimpanzee and gorilla booking system. Now, Bashir Hangi, who is the Manager Communications and Public Relations at the Uganda Wildlife Authority, did vehemently refute this revelation. Now, when you look at the scandal, despite the reports coming in from the SAM, Uganda Wildlife Authority reported to have collected 22.4 billion Ugandan shillings as revenue from gorilla and chimpanzee tracking in 2023. But the Auditor General, John Mwanga, told COSASE that denying him access limits the audit work and also verifying the accuracy of those figures as well. And well, more of this particular saga does continue. If I'm to take you back in October last year, the Tourism Ministry asked the Office of the Auditor General to undertake a comprehensive forensic audit covering the period between July 2020 and September of 2023. This was basically to unravel fraud that had been detected in the gorilla and chimpanzee bookings at Bwindi, Ngahinga, and Kabale National Parks, as well as the Queen Elizabeth National Park. Well, now, lastly, from our world of business, let's look at the forex market to see how business was faring from that side of the currencies as close of business 14th February 2024. Well, by morning time, the US dollar was buying at 3,863.67 while selling at 3,873.67. A few changes during midday. So the US dollar buy at 3,874.00 while selling at 3,884.00. And by closing time, the US dollar was buying at 3,868.58 while selling at 3,878.58. And the Great Britain pound was buying at 4,875.95 while selling at 4,888.56. Now, the euro, on the other hand, closing time saw it buy at 4,155.18 while selling at 4,155.89. Then fast forward, the Kenyan shilling was buying at 24.79 while selling at 24.86, as the Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.52 while selling at 1.53 Uganda. And with the forex market still, the South African rand was buying at 202.60 while selling at 203.13. And that is how you will definitely get the forex market as of opening business this 15th of February. Well, that is all I've gathered for you from the world of business this morning. Coming up next is the traffic updates with Olive, Monica, and Ajuma. Stick around.
Welcome back from the business updates. Now we focus our attention on the traffic updates as of this morning. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, here to take you through that route that you're traversing this morning. Now, if you're coming from the areas of Ntinda, Chisasi, Bukoto, and trying to access the city center. This is where our attention is going to be focused this morning. And starting off from Old Chira Road, right at the intersection where Chigobe Road meets Old Chira Road. That's where we are starting from, and then head all the way through Ntinda and Bukoto and guide you as far as the road is concerned to see which best route that you can use this morning. Now, starting off in this juncture, we see that there is some traffic that is coming through from Chigobe Road, and also traffic jam that is coming in through from Old Chira Road. Now, the one coming in from Old Chira Road starts around Kampala Independent Hospital, right before you join those first traffic lights, just after Total Chiwatle, and heading into Ntinda. Now, continuing still to the center of Ntinda, we see some bit of traffic jam that is coming through at the traffic lights that is from the Ntinda Chisasi Road, and joining now the intersection where we have the traffic lights where Ntinda Chisasi Road joins Chigobe Road, and now that transitions into Bukoto Ntinda Road. As you can see, along Ntinda Bukoto Road, traffic jam has already started, and all across from the area that has Ntinda Shopping Center to the area that goes up ahead. Actually, I see traffic jam coming in through from Magambo Road. Magambo Road normally brings in traffic from Chisasi area. People that don't want to use the traffic lights use Magambo Road to connect to Bukoto Ntinda Chisasi Ntinda Road. And we see that the traffic jam now is being fed into the main Bukoto Ntinda Road. And here you're going to unfortunately be delayed for some bit of time, because from what I can see, the traffic jam here is intense. Now, for those going the side of Ntinda 2 Road, at least at the start, there is a smooth flow of traffic right there along Ntinda 2 Road. But I would like for us to continue along with the Chira Road now. Now, for some sections, Chira Road has smooth flow of traffic. I see a bit of traffic jam that is coming in through from Upper Naguru E Road. It is not intense, it is just where these two roads connect. But continuing with Chira Road, for the most part in this section there is a smooth flow of traffic, a bit of traffic jam coming in from Bukoto Crescent and joining the main Chira Road. And of course, for those coming in from Bukoto Chisalo Road or going that side of town, there is smooth flow of traffic. Now, coming back to Chira Road, we see that just after Chisalo joins Chira Road, here we experience traffic jam, and it is intense. I see deep red zones along this section for people coming through going to the side of town. Now, for those coming in from Bukoto Chisasi Road, there is a bit of a delay over there, as evidenced by the orange zones you can see on your screen, indicating that yes, it may not be so intense, but there is traffic jam to keep you held up in one place for some minutes along that section. Now, for those that are on Chira Road, there is a huge stretch of red I see on this section, and it is a deep red zone. What this means is that the traffic situation as of this minute is quite intense in this section. Actually, the feeder roads that are coming through are also bringing in more traffic, like Corporation Rise is feeding also traffic jam into the main Chira Road. And continuing still with Chira Road, the traffic jam situation continues. Now, let's see what is happening ahead, right where the Chira Road Police is and the traffic lights. Now, for those going to Lugogo bypass, you will only experience a traffic jam right where these roads connect. But if you're heading ahead along Lugogo bypass, I see that, yeah, there are still delays that you're going to experience. I don't see a red zone, but I see orange zones, which are indicative of a slow movement of traffic. Now, still along Lugogo bypass, I see that Naguru Drive is feeding intense traffic into Lugogo bypass. So at this section, you will encounter a delay. Now, going ahead still along Lugogo bypass, after Naguru Drive has transitioned into Lugogo bypass, now we have smooth flow of traffic, save for a few orange zones along this section for those that are going the side of Bukoto and Kamocha. Now, where Naguru Drive, where Mviri Lane also transitions into Naguru Drive, we see a bit of a delay there because there is a bit of traffic jam that is being fed into Naguru Drive, continuing being fed into Lugogo bypass. I beg your pardon. Now, continuing with Lugogo bypass, there is smooth flow of traffic up until where Lugogo bypass now connects to Naguru Road. Naguru Road is also bringing in some intense traffic into Lugogo bypass, and after that we now see a huge red zone along the Lugogo bypass. So are you headed that side of town? You should be advised that you might lose some bit of time. Now, around Katikati traffic lights, there is a traffic jam in this section as well, going to the side of Upper Kololo Terrace. We will experience some bit of traffic there, and continuing still with the Lugogo bypass, we will find other sections of traffic jam right where Lugogo bypass now joins the Kampala Jinja Highway. Here we have traffic lights that might delay us for a bit of time, and then we continue with the Kampala Jinja Highway. We can't go any further, but at least for now, if you're coming in from Tinda side through Lugogo bypass, you know how best to transition. If I were you, I would stick to the main road because the feeder roads like Naguru Drive, Naguru Lane are intense with traffic as of this morning. So if you're just joining the road, I advise that you stick to the main road. You have a better chance of avoiding intense traffic jam. Well, my name is Olive, and Good Morning Uganda continues.
Of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial star 165 star 3 hash or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
The cardinal role of a government is maintaining law and order, safeguarding citizens' rights and providing essential public goods and services. Throughout its tenure, the government has consistently upheld these principles. This foundation creates an environment conducive to delivering crucial social services to citizens through diverse approaches such as taxation, strategic budgeting, and effective policy implementation. A transformative education system, advancing healthcare provisions, enhancing social welfare, and propelling infrastructure growth, all of which continue to evolve daily to cater to the population's expectations. Supported by a meticulously organized network of ministries, government remains committed to serving its citizens. Coming soon on your public broadcaster, The Front Bench, your interface with the government every Monday at 8:30 p.m. with Joram Paul Sonko, only on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Junko. Yo. What you go? Check the shopping man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the Parish Development Model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sewatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Juko, I thought I was one of your friends.
You are,
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief, and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government, designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Buli munya-Uganda nayitinga amakuru marungi. UBC West eyina amakuru marungi kandi agali kwesigwa. Leero za program zaayo ziri omuli Nyakitara hamwe n'Orufumbira. UBC West eyina tekinologiya ey'omulembe eri kugibaasisa kuhika omu bicweka byona omu ihanga nangu n'aheeru y'eihanga. Tukwatire aha frequencies ezi: Kisoro 97.7 Fama, Kalari 93.7 Fama, Hoima 99.1 Fama, Kampala 5.7 Fama, Mbarara 97.4 Fama, Futpoto 98.8 Fama, Masindi 5 Fama. Kurikiriza UBC West ohurire embaganiza. UBC West empika huna.
107.3 Kampala, 96.9 Mbale, 95.7 Jinja, 98.6 Soroti. You are all covered.
UBC Butego. UBC Butego.
Previously, in most of these areas that we had prioritized, farmers would produce, but you don't access market because the roads are not there. So you have the middlemen that would have access, and they persevere to go into those deep in the villages, and they buy with their own prices. They can go there and set prices for you, and yet you're the ones who are producing this food. But now this time with the market linkages, people can now access market, because we have bridges that were, streams that were bottlenecks to access by the farmers. It has constructed bridges, so farmers can now reach market.
I've seen a number of community members out there that have formed themselves into groups and have identified enterprises, agricultural enterprises, rice and all that, and they've actually been successfully cultivating them. They've gone ahead, the project has gone ahead and also introduced small-scale industries like the rice huller, the grinding mills and all that that are managed by the groups. All these are successes.
City market lies in 4 acres of land with a population of about 4,000 registered market vendors who are doing business in this facility. We really appreciate the initiative of the government to come up with this project that is benefiting not only the business community within the market, but the entire community within actually sub-region. When you look at the market previously, the market used to be not like this one. With the market vendors, they used to sell under papyrus reeds. And we used also to ferry our goods, come and sell, then you take it in the stores or elsewhere. But now, due to this infrastructural development, the vendors now, they are able now to sell, cover your goods, leave it there, and you come and get it the next day when it is safe. The safety of our goods and the convenience of doing business has improved greatly. That makes the local community very, very, very happy when they are doing business in the market now. I want to appeal to my fellow vendors and the community of the entire Chile sub-region that we need to embrace and support the government so that they continue also bringing us more development in our region.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning. It is a cold morning, I must say, and in case you're in the parts of Kampala, the 5 divisions that make up Kampala, that include Machindye, that include Kampala Central, Nakawa, Lubaga. Well, it is raining. I don't know the other parts of the country, but at least where I am, it is seriously raining. And please don't forget to carry yourself a cardigan, an umbrella, and if you have infants, to keep them warm. I'm Robert Chirabonyonyitono. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. Now, today we are going to be discussing something very important because it has both faith and politics in it. Now, tomorrow is a public holiday. It is Janan Lumu Day. Now, many young people may wonder, why do we have a public holiday called Janan Lumu Day? Now, this all goes back to the 16th of February 1979. Now, what happened then? We had a leader by the name of Idi Amin. And Idi Amin was a dictator, if you've read so much about President Idi Amin. But most of the times, his government, they were various allegations of people wanted to overthrow President Idi Amin. Now, in 1977, Archbishop Janan Lumu, now he was the bishop of the Church of Uganda in Rwanda, Burundi, and Boga Zaire. Now, Idi Amin received information, according to him, that, well, the Archbishop and others, according to Idi Amin, had a plot to overthrow him. Remember, Archbishop Janan Lumu earlier delivered a letter to Idi Amin criticizing the way he was doing things. Archbishop Janan Lumu, who stood for peace and development, had come out and written a well-documented letter indicating evils, human rights abuses, extrajudicial killings, and condemning them. He was very outspoken, and when you read a number of books that talk about him, like one that is termed as the Dungeons of Nakasero, if you can, that is by Okero Award, a man who was in the same cell, that is cell 2, with Archbishop Janan Lumu, it is very clear that Amin was very furious about the way the Archbishop was conducting himself by condemning evils he was doing. So the Archbishop was arrested, and many so were arrested. And they were told how they had attempted to overthrow the government of Idi Amin. It is said shortly after, Ugandans woke up to the sad news that the son of Muchini village in Kitugumu district had been found dead in a car accident. Now, it is said that Archbishop Jananlumu actually did not die in a car accident. He was killed on orders of President Idi Amin. And the accident, we may not have conclusive evidence to what exactly happened, but when we look at writings of different people, it is said that Archbishop was killed and the accident stage managed, according to various books. Now, this raised huge concern amongst people. It was a dark cloud hovering all over Uganda, how we had lost such an important person. And in 2015, government of Uganda, through the leadership of President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, granted and gazetted 16th of February every year to celebrate the life of Jananlumu. That is why tomorrow it's going to be a public holiday. A man of God, an archbishop, who at such a time, many ran out of the country, many went to exile, many were timid to speak about the acts, the gross human abuse, extrajudicial killings that were happening. But he stood out. He was outspoken. Even it is said in one of the readings I was reading that when he was told that at least leave Uganda, because they're all signed that you will be killed, he said, I was born here, I'll die here, speaking the truth. I'm called to ministry to serve. But I'm not alone. I'm with a young lad on set, Sonko, who was neither born, I want to believe. 1977. He wasn't born. And he's also one of the people that read history. Neither was I, but we read history. Briefly, Sonko, when you talk about Jananlumu, what comes to your mind?
Well, it takes me back to my history, my days of the history, social studies, reading about Uganda's history during the time of the Idi Amin era. When you look at that time, which was ideally characterized with mass killings of Ugandans, especially those who stood up against the governance of President Idi Amin, and also standing their feet high in order to create room for human rights in the country so that human rights in Uganda are upheld. So when it comes to Jananlumu, for many Ugandans, when you look at the Ugandans who know or who studied about Jananlumu, in my age bracket, many of them do know him as a bishop who was killed during the era of President Idi Amin Dada. But then also, to me, I look at him as a bishop who stood his ground and came high on speaking for the Ugandans, especially for the Ugandans who are underprivileged. And I have as well seen many of the believers today who are part of the committee and those who will be joining the celebrations in Kitgum tomorrow at the burial site of the late bishop, who have actually called upon government officials and religious leaders in today's Uganda to follow the footsteps and be like Jananlumu. Why is this so? Because when you look at situations whereby he called upon President Idi Amin Dada to deliver a note of protest at the policies and explained disappearances of many persons, because during such a time of the Idi Amin era where Bishop Jananlumu was killed, you do realize that it was a time whereby some Ugandans were disappearing, and their disappearance had no one could track where they were taken. No one would know why they were being, kidnapped or abducted. No one would know why there were some certain killings, as the allegations are written within the books of history in regards to Uganda's post-independence era. So at such a time, to see a bishop or a religious person get into the political sphere of our country, that says a lot about Janan Luwumi's character. Why is that so? Because when you also have a look at the time frame under which Idi Amin Dada, as president of the country, was leading us, was a time when Uganda was living in the post-independence era, where all African states were all living in that era of post-independence, trying to, you know, cope up with balancing the economy, balancing the political sphere, different coups here and there. And then you wouldn't ideally expect bishops, because there was a high rate of insecurity in the country. And many were actually scared of going against the presidential, you know, rules at the time, or going against any presidential decision. And him as a man of God, because as a man of God, you're preaching prosperity, but at the same time, preaching for godliness amongst the people, which meant that you have to preach about human rights, you have to preach about equality of the many. So when you look at the history about his death, or the events that led to his death, it is highly attributed to his outspokenness, as someone who was outspoken, and he would stand on his ground and tell the president that, well, whatever you're doing needs you to come out and explain to the Ugandans why this and this is happening, why people are disappearing, why we have these cases of death in the country, all of that. And for that, it clearly gives you the fact that he was showing Ugandans that you do have the freedom of speech, and you should not be scared if at all you have a right to speak. And as we're celebrating or commemorating the day, many Ugandans will be happy because it's a Friday and they will not be at work. But we have to reflect. And for the religious leaders that we do have today, besides the denominations that you belong to, whether you're a Pentecostal leader, whether you're a Catholic leader, or you're an Anglican leader, all of these are things you have to look at. What is your stand in regards to Uganda's political space as of now? How do you respond objectively, by the way? Because at times you're not supposed to be biased in the kind of position you are in.
Actually, as a religious leader, you're supposed to be non-partisan.
Exactly.
Know that you have all people with various political affiliations,
and you're not scared
ideologies,
to, you know, to say
gathering, and you must be a unifying factor. Now, when we talk about still reading this very interesting book, The Dungeons of Nakasero, written by Wood Okero Lawoko. It's one of the books that really, now this man shared a cell with Archbishop Janan Lumu before he was killed. Archbishop Janan Lumu was in cell 1, but then there were 2 ministers under Amin's regime that were also brought, and they were accused of plotting to overthrow Idi Amin. So to create room for them, Janan Lumu was then transferred to cell 2, where the author of this book was. Now, this was at the Nile Conference Center. Today, when you talk about the Nile Conference Center, it is Serena.
Yes,
Kampala
Serena Hotel.
Serena Hotel. Now, that was a danger zone. And I don't know if history would have been preserved that we could even have a look at cell 2. But of course, now there is so much changes. You can't know what was happening there. But many people during the reign of Idi Amin lost their lives there. Once your person was taken at Nile Conference Center, then you would know the chances of that person returning. But also, when we talk about Janan Lumu, away from just being very vocal and standing for the truth, he was also very developmental during his time of leadership. And some of the things we can look at is the current church house. People don't know that that building just below Bank of Uganda is also called Janan Lumu House. Now, it is Archbishop Janan Lumu that said the church can not only depend on what believers give to the church, but also the church must have projects that bring it money, and had the vision of the church house. Now, he was killed at 55 years, and he hadn't accomplished this. His reign wasn't so long because he was murdered. But today, we have a structure that we can look at among so many other schools that the Archbishop Janan Lumu pushed for to be established in Muchuni village. When you go to a number of areas, he was also in the field of education. So not only was he on the other side as an archbishop, but if you look at how many schools during his short tenure were established, there were still so many. When you look at development projects that were established, there were still so many. A fund that was established by Janan Rumu to see that the church can sustain itself and move away from just depending on what the believers bring. That is the man we are going to be celebrating tomorrow. Now, yes.
And you know also, when you talk about Janan Luwum, it's actually a day onto which many of the religious leaders and even our political figures have to reflect on the inside of how certain things are happening in the country. How so? Is you're looking at a man of God who decided to get deep into the politics of the country. Not deep, but in his non-partisan situation, he happened to raise his voice on one, the human rights violations. And not only that, you also look at, during even that time, we had poor service delivery. Amongst the many, there was a high cost of living as well, because we were, of course, living in a world where the Indians had been also expelled, and there was a different shift of Uganda's economic space. But then also we were trying to build onto the post-independence era to create room for a better Uganda. So in such a time, you get to realize that even as of today, as a developing country, Uganda, we do have quite a number of different issues in the country surrounding us. And many of the religious leaders at times, I've seen many Ugandans coming out and pointing out fingers to the religious leaders, saying many of them are not coming out strongly to talk about certain things that are affecting the country, or they are not coming out. Because when you also remember, I'll use this as an example, the late Father Lokodo, who was very vocal when it comes to issues to do with moral, upholding morals in our society today. And after his death, you do realize that many still feel his gap in regards to how, you know, our morals are being upheld, especially within the public figures, which shows you that as we are looking back and commemorating Janan Luwum, it shows you that we are remembering someone who used his position as a religious leader to push for the right ways through religious doctrines. And that is something you would call upon our religious
Actually,
leaders
the key word
and
here
the bishops
is
as well.
condemned. Because
Yes.
most of the times, even when you look at, you know, history is scanty, but at least there are some people that have been able to put things together. When you look at the alleged letter that is believed annoyed Amin, you see that most of the wordings were, I condemn. Not calling for,
I condemn.
I condemn. I condemn. He condemned evil that was happening at that particular time. And this wasn't because of political inclination or something like that, but because these were evils that were being seen. Now, most of the times we find that today we want to have the religious leaders political, where they are not condemning, but they are pushing for. You know? Pushing for. We want to see religious leaders who can come out and say, I side with this party. You know? Or we are seeing political leaders who are showing political inclination. You go
And
to
we
a
also have those who are actively in the politics.
and those who are actively in the politics. Now, this is not what Janan was. For him, he simply said, this is wrong. We don't support it. We condemn it. It should stop. And in the book I've just mentioned, it is said that while he was being tortured, because the author says that he was stripped off his clothes, was being hit by a gun butt, and then he told one of his tormentors that the power I have is the power of God. Now this one handed him 2 slaps and said, do you call yourself a mufti or something like that? But his aim was to see this come to an end. Not to flee like many did, but to see this come to an end. And when you look at this, that his death was a rebirth of people's commitment. to the fight to end the leadership of Idi Amin or the reign of Idi Amin, but also for people to deepen themselves in their faith. Remember, we are told and we read that Idi Amin, having been a Muslim, was not so friendly with elements of Christianity, despite the fact that sometimes he used his powers as a president to make things work in some of these faiths where they had misunderstandings. Because in the history of Church of Uganda, you must know that there was a time when we had a bishop conducting prayers, and it was also surrounded by weaponry. That's why you have a bishop of Namirembe, then you have a Christ the King, this side there's a bishop. So it's some rich history there where Amin had an input into Christianity there to restore and see certain things work differently the way they were. But it deepened people's faith and opened more the space of worship. You know, whenever there has been, history has shown it, that whenever there have been religious persecution, faith has not weakened, but faith has deepened.
True. And when you also look at what he was actually condemning, continuously, till when you see the NRA liberation journey till 1986, many of these things stopped happening in the country. And then the things of, certain things that he was really condemning stopped. However much it took a long time to happen, but at least he had laid a foundation of the same. And as of today, you get to also realize this is where you let people know that in any situation or in any occurrence of a human right violation or of any bad governance, it takes less of you as a religious leader to condemn the same. And of course, you can condemn by not pointing fingers, but you can condemn by being non-partisan in a situation whereby your opinions are rather objective. And the government can look through it, or let's say the opposition, if you're condemning the opposition acts, or if at all you're condemning the government in anything, you have to condemn them taking a stand that this is not good for the future of our country. When you also look at what we look at for God and our country or my country, this clearly shows you this is a nation that looks on to God in every decision that we make, policies and everything. So as a day that we celebrate tomorrow, it's upon us, and not only even the religious leaders, to think deep of ourselves, to think deep of the kind of country we want or we aspire as Ugandans, that you want a country that you're living in to prevail, but you are the same kind of person who is condemning something, but at the backdrop, doing something different. Let's say you're condemning human rights, but even back home, the way you're treating fellow human beings is not right. So how do you do it? It's more than even spiritual, but how you push for a good country and for good deeds within each other. And I would say, for me as a Christian, this is a time when every time the 16th comes in, is the time when we are commemorating or remembering the death of someone. But as we are remembering the death of a bishop, we always remember the good deeds. Or we have to look back at what made the government consider this as a public holiday. Because it is not only because he was a religious person, but also the fact that he was a Ugandan at heart and putting Uganda first because he wanted to see a country with no bloodshed, if I'm to put it in that way.
Well, what a lovely conclusion. Archbishop Janalumu was the Bishop of Rwanda, Uganda, and Boga Zaire at that time. Now, he had a very big province of jurisdiction, and his death is worth celebrating because he loved self. He loved country beyond self. What do we mean? That at such a time it was very risky to condemn acts of President Idi Amin. But as a religious leader, this he knew and maybe could have predicted. But because of his love for his country beyond self, he never stopped pushing for what is right. Tomorrow, as we celebrate this gallant son of Muchumi village in Kitigum district, I remember in 2019, Mama Mary Rumu went to be with the Lord, and she's buried just next to her husband in Muchumi village. And We have some Christians that actually walk all the way to Muchuni. We have pilgrims that go to this place to pray and all that. Let's all love country beyond self and always push for what is right. Well, we'll have Ruben with sports. See you later on. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Junko. Yo. Wachiko. Check the shopping man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Junko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life.